All right, Officer and a Gentleman came out in 1982, third biggest film of the year.
Mm-hmm.
$7 million budget, made $190 million, which is what now, like $700 million?
Sure, that's the exact math. We know this. Yeah.
An R-rated drama with a pretty raw sex scene
Yeah.
and people screaming at each other. And this movie's amazing. This is, I just can't believe how
Would you
good
have done
this
this as a
movie is.
rewatchable even if you hadn't come
yeah.
up with, wait, that made how much money?
It was always on the list, but I also had watched bits and pieces of it. I hadn't watched it from beginning to end, and they just don't make them like this anymore, Sean.
So this movie was released the week that I was born.
Yeah.
And so I don't have the context that you do. I wasn't sitting in a movie theater when all of America was throwing itself at this movie. What was it like?
I went to the theater with my stepdad and my mom. Seemed like a great idea. And then all of a sudden, Debra Winger's on top of Richard Gere. And I think I was like 12 or 13. And you could hear a pin drop in the theater. And it was super awkward.
Were you quietly fired up, though? Were you like, yes, this is happening?
I just felt super awkward. It
Yeah.
was like one of the like most raw sex scenes I had seen. You know, we used to go to the movies a lot more back then because they made less movies. But it was just John. But the whole movie and then the ending, and people knew about the song. Gere was pretty famous at that point. But the movie was a phenomenon. And there's this whole military run CR that we were having here in the 80s, which Private Ben, these are all movies that were set in this kind of military training, military trying to, you know, push the next generation, whatever it was. Private Benjamin, 1980, huge hit. Up the Academy, Taps, which became one of the first, oh, look at all these guys.
Yeah.
Stripes, Officer and a Gentleman, Lords of Discipline, that's 83. Top Gun's 86, Heartbreak Ridge 86, Full Metal Jacket's 87, Biloxi Blues 88.
Yeah.
It's 9 years of, I just listed 11 movies and all of them did like okay, and some of them were monsters.
So this one is produced by Don Simpson. Officer and Gentleman's produced by Don Simpson, and he also produced Top Gun. And this movie is Top Gun's fucked up older brother. It's basically the same movie. It's about a guy with father issues who wants to be everything that his father was or wasn't, who meets a girl when he's doing his training.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the fact that there's no fight at the end of it, like a jet fight, it's like basically Top Gun, but completely, it's closer to John Cassavetes than it is the Top Gun that comes out a couple of years later. It's like almost entirely a different era of Hollywood is found in this movie compared to what we get like just a couple of years later. I think it's so interesting.
Definitely a 70s hangover movie where like a very sophisticated character study somehow became a global movie phenomenon. It's like you can see a lot of like because he's this real like anti-hero. The Gere character is a total 70s character. I mean, he's like not that likable, and kind of a shithead, and has a lot of problems. What did you
cool tat?
Was that so that's a fake tat that he got for the film?
Probably.
Did you guys do any tat research?
I didn't do any tattoo research.
Yeah, I don't think Gere has that one. Yeah, you're right. The 70s hangover thing. There was this 5-6 year stretch.
Yeah.
And it could be The Deer Hunter. It could be All the Right Moves. It could be Breaking Away, where you just go into these towns with normal people and there's some sort of person that becomes a catalyst for some sort of chaos in the small town.
Even Footloose.
Footloose is a good one.
Yeah.
But they were making these movies, Vision Quest. They were making these movies all the time, and I don't know what happened to them. It's like we've lost our connection. Now it's like, what was that movie the lady got nominated for an Oscar for? The lottery movie.
To Leslie. Yeah.
To Leslie.
Yeah.
Hollywood was cranking out To Leslie in the late 70s and early 80s, like all over the place. And some of them hit, some of them didn't. I'm still trying to get Chris to watch Inside Moves. That's another one.
I heard about that.
But
yeah.
We're in a city. We're filming. There's no green screen shit. We're not actually filming in Canada when we're supposed to be in Seattle. We're in the real city with the real people. And I think like to me, Paul and Lynette are the keys to this movie.
Yeah.
Those characters are awesome. They're really well written. Lynette's evil.
Well,
like she's an evil person.
I think
you kind of feel bad for her.
We're in unanswerable questions territory, I think, by raising that issue.
Like what?
Way to go, Paula! Way to go!
It's a weird choice in the script at the end there. I think There's one other factor though. Like it's not a downer 70s movie. It's a true blue classic Hollywood romance.
Yeah.
Like it's
not a downer except for the hanging suicide scene with about 20 minutes to go.
Chris actually has an important question that he mentioned to me that he said we should discuss. So I'm going
to save it for later.
Okay.
Let's do
No,
Gere.
but you're right. The love story part of it. And the fact that like when you think about that ending, the ending of this movie, which is probably one of the most, I don't know, what is it? One of the most famous ends of a love movie, like a love story movie,
Definitely.
a romance movie.
Think it's in the running for best.
It's up there. I mean, it's not like Casablanca, but it's like it's a iconic ending of a film. And the pomp and circumstance of that, and the idea of this guy coming and literally sweeping you off your feet as this score plays is like, that's the leap out of like, it's not a Bob Raffleson movie or something. It's a 1980s movie, you know?
Yeah. With the perfect #1 hit scored to it. But it's in the lineage of like Casablanca and the Stanley Donen musicals and Love Story and The Way We Were. And like we were talking about this before, like in the last 15 years, there's La La Land. And aside from La La Land, there has not really been like a phenomenon romance film. It's not something that is really very common.
You think because everyone's dead inside? Except for Craig and Liz, they're still happy.
Love La La Land.
There you go. But people love La La
love
Land,
that
you know, and these people have a huge affection for these movies. And Nicholas Sparks does these movies like that. They still exist. It's not like they don't exist anymore, but they're not that common.
Yeah, like Notebook would probably be the one before La La Land.
Right.
Gosling's just
he owns the block.
Only person people are interested in seeing have love in
He's
their life.
Knuff. Yeah.
I also like how flawed everybody is in this movie. I feel like we don't do that enough either. Even Gossett, who's amazing, is Foley. But, you know, he'll cross some lines, some language.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a lot of barriers.
He besmirches Oklahoma a couple of times.
Yeah, there might be a Slate.com piece about some of Foley's tactics down the road.
We should
but
do
the
that.
Slate piece would be like, are we sure he's not
Maybe
properly?
he's right.
Yeah, he's right.
Effective or offensive? Question mark.
Yeah. The answer may surprise you.
I just miss movies like this where
Was Emil Foley good for the military?
Yeah.
Is like incredible first take segment.
Yeah.
You know, like it's,
coming up next.
Yeah.
I just like movies where lots of characters are flawed. PTA is still trying to make them. It's not like people aren't trying to make these.
I think that the
to make it
anti-hero has
mainstream,
become a
too.
prestige television thing more than a film thing.
Just the fact that this movie was as popular as it was is both amazing, but then completely makes sense when you watch it. And you're like, this movie's awesome. No wonder everyone wants to see it. Richard Gere, 2 years after Officer and a Gentleman, admitted that, told Barbara Walters he did this movie strictly for the money, did not think it was going to be that successful, and it became his biggest hit for the next 8 years. But there's this weird white guy race going on right now, CR, where
a
Travolta,
white guy race, you say?
white guy race. There's this white lead actor. There's just a bunch of them, right? We have a lot. There's a battle.
Yeah.
There's
Who's in the mix?
People jockeying. Well, Travolta turned this down.
Yep.
Right. And
Casting
turned down Gigolo.
spoiler. He turned down Gigolo and he turns down this. They become geared two of his three biggest parts. But Harrison Ford's in the mix. Jeff Bridges, Berenger, who we talked about on Big Chill. William Hurt's coming. Michael Douglas is coming. Tom Hanks is coming.
You saying Michael Douglas is coming?
Yeah.
Well, they literally is coming.
Kind of
He's
resonant. Yeah.
actually coming. And Tom Hanks is coming and Costner's coming. And we just don't have enough parts for all these guys. And Gere goes from this movie to, he does Breathless, Beyond the Limit, The Cotton Club, King David, Power, No Mercy, Miles from Home, and then ends up finally coming back with Internal Affairs, Pretty Woman. But
Just really Pretty Woman. I think Internal Affairs was
well,
one
that's
for
for
us.
us. Yeah. But he's awesome in this movie. Did not get nominated.
So weird.
And this is, I think, his best movie.
It's a star-making performance, or if he wasn't already one. I mean, but it's really wild to watch this and realize, like, that's how they used to this was a role, the kind of role that used to make stars in Hollywood. It's Stanley Kowalski, it's Streetcar, it's HUD. It's like these like rebellious, rebel without a cause young men who are like somewhat lovable, but really kind of actually erratic and violent and dangerous. And then by the end of the movie have reached some sort of conclusion about themselves, even if that's
Helmsworth and Black Hat.
Well, that's the thing is we're talking about love stories. Like these kinds of characters I think they've sanded down the edges on this kind of star. Like
you didn't even blink at the black hat reference. You're like, absolutely, that's exactly
I was
right.
just gonna
He's in the
finish my
lineage.
sentence.
He thought I was being. He believed me.
100% sincere.
Yeah, this movie starts out with his dad is just lying between two other naked women, and
I
it's
think
just
that they had some group sex the night before.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that was his graduation present.
You want to
They
go there
basically
right now?
said
This is the
that.
most
Well,
important part of the movie to me.
Well, when you talk about like roughing the edges off, like that's how this movie is 5 minutes of him
Yeah.
like hawking a loogie in the bathroom
How much?
sink.
I didn't on the rewatch expect to get that much of Robert Loggia's lower torso.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Or
There's
the
just
the peephole is down periscope.
Yeah.
The peephole is open in the
Yeah,
box.
HC, which
Yeah.
usually is our friend with,
Yeah.
with movies, was not our friend with
It feels
Robert
like
Loggia.
Loggia turned to Taylor Hackford and was like, "Should I pull my underwear down more? How much more?" Like it's bizarre.
Everyone's just so naked, and Gere's just kind of hanging out, and that's how we start the movie. Then we start doing flashbacks, but I think Gere just owns this movie. He's so good, and the Travolta versus Gere thing, it's like too good for casting what ifs. Like, I just don't think the movie's as good with Travolta.
I think they're such different actors.
Yeah.
Travolta is not mysterious.
He's also
Gere is
got
so
like an
mysterious.
inherent sweetness that I do
Yeah.
not think Gere has.
Agree.
And
Gere's
he's a
the
little
opposite. He's
cartoony.
cold.
Like him doing the "I got nowhere else to go" scene. I just don't think he pulls it off. Like
I
I really
agree.
believed with Gere. Gere's also one of the great athletes of all time, as we find out in the obstacle course scenes.
Could have broken the record.
He's basically Jim Thorpe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I look at Gere's career, and he has these 3 movies that he's just incredible in, right? Officer and Gentleman, American Gigolo, and Pretty Woman.
I put Days of Heaven in there
I
too.
agree.
Okay. But then just a bunch of stinkers, and it just doesn't make sense. He's like one of those
Well,
like those NFL coaches that go 15-1 and then 2-14. You're
we
like,
could
what
do
happened?
an hour and a half on the internet research for this movie because much like what we talked about with Robin Hood, there was just like a lot of like pretty candid responses to the production and
Yeah.
the sort of making in this film. And I think Gere is a difficult guy to work with sometimes, or has
Yeah.
been
But
historically.
He is so perfectly mirrored with Debra Winger in terms of their career. Like it's almost the exact same story. Debra Winger also has 3 or 4 parts that are iconic.
Yep.
And then she does the same thing that Gere does. They both have really good taste. They find really good filmmakers. And for whatever reason, they keep picking the movie that is not the successful movie for that director. Like in the 80s, you know, he worked with Sidney Lumet. He worked with Francis
Yeah.
Ford Coppola. Like Gere picked good parts, but they're movies that didn't work for whatever reason. Maybe sometimes he was part of the reason why they didn't work. But Debra Winger's the same thing. Like when we talk about her too, we'll talk about how she picked good movies by good filmmakers and they just didn't really hit.
Does Gere exist now?
Is there a guy who's like Gere?
Yeah, who's like Gere's supposed to be 32 in this
No.
movie?
There are guys who I think have some of his qualities, you know? Most of them are British, probably, but like there are guys who have that pretty
Yeah.
boy.
Paul Mescal, maybe a little bit.
You think
Hmm.
so?
Yeah,
He's
physical
such a
actor.
fucking sweet Labrador, though. Like,
Yeah, he is nice. I think he actually could stand to be a little bit more
yeah.
devious as a performer. Like that would benefit him. But he's going to be in the new Gladiator movie, so I don't know.
Gere had this is stuff Travolta didn't have, where it's like, wouldn't want to leave my girlfriend alone with this guy. He's just kind of a scumbag. You can see it. Also feels like he could go to the dance and immediately get Debra Winger in 2 seconds.
Mhm.
He could run the obstacle course. He could be the piece of shit who keeps all the stuff over the top.
Yeah, it has like a
Mhm.
side
But then
business.
also feels bad and gives
It's
somebody
got,
the belt
got like a
buckles.
little bit of Steve McQueen in this movie.
Yeah,
with
he's
that.
just
Mhm.
always up to stuff, good and bad. Mostly good, but not really. And I don't know how he pulled it off. And there's only a couple actors like this. Even in Pretty Woman, guy's kind of a scumbag,
Mhm.
right? But he has a way of making you like the scumbag. Internal Affairs is another one. I just think he's a really unique actor. He didn't get nominated for this movie. The people that did get, we've talked about this year
stacked.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
'cause
pretty
we-
stacked. Kingsley wins for Gandhi, Hoffman's and Tootsie, Jack Lemmon in Missing, Paul Newman in The Verdict, and Peter O'Toole in My Favorite Year. So Harrison Ford didn't get nominated this year. Robin Williams didn't get nominated for Garp. Gere didn't get nominated. Like, it's defensible, but this was probably his best movie to get nominated for. And it was a monster movie. It also didn't get nominated for Best Film, which I was surprised
Yeah,
by.
I mean, like we did this Oscars when we talked about
E.T.
E.T.
Yeah.
And The Verdict.
And The Verdict, right. I mean, but it did get some. It had a win. It had another 2 nominations. So it's like it got recognized.
Let's talk Winger. Her first 3 big movies are Urban Cowboy, Officer and Gentleman in terms of endearment. They are monsters.
Mhm.
And then she does Mike's Murder, Legal Eagles, and Black Widow. And by 87 is just not an A-list actress anymore. She turned down the following roles. I think we've done this before, but I'm doing it again. She turned down Karen Allen's role in Raiders. She turned down Kathleen Turner's role in Romance in the Stone. James Brooks wrote the Holly Hunter role for her in Broadcast News. She didn't want to do it. I think she might have been pregnant. Susan Sarandon's role in Bull Durham. Michelle Pfeiffer's role in The Fabulous Baker Boys. And Gina Davis's role in League of Their Own. She was cast.
She quit.
And then she quit because they cast Madonna. There's 6 monster movies. She was the most in-demand under 35 actress in Hollywood, even over Meryl Streep, for like 8 years. And the stories are great. It's a great half-hour research. Go read some features. Like, she just gave 0 fucks.
She still, to this day, when they're like, it's like Debra Winger looks back on her career, they're like, what about League of Their Own? You regret that one? She's like, I was right. But I have been proven right by history that Madonna can't act, and I was right not to be in that movie.
Yeah,
like,
or she'll
it's
say,
one of the most beloved movies of the last 40 years.
she'll say, they'll be like, what happened with you and Travolta on Urban Cowboy? Like, did you guys have an affair? And she's like, I don't know, it's 40 years ago. Do you remember everyone you've kissed? You're like, okay, next question. She's amazing. I think she's one of my favorite celebrities.
The cool thing too is
Just
that
doesn't
like
give a
She's
shit.
not a celebrity though. That's the thing. She's not famous anymore. Nobody knows who she
yeah,
is anymore.
I wonder if
Yeah.
like Craig, if you before you saw this movie, if you saw Debra Winger at Blue Bottle, would you be like, hey, it's Debra Winger?
No.
Yeah.
She's not famous. It's crazy.
And she was like
uh,
3 times more successful than Brie Larson.
she was like step aside Meryl Streep. I have arrived.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that from most of her career, every 5 years, she winds up in a movie where it's like, we got to give her an Oscar nomination for this.
Yeah.
Sheltering Sky. Like, she
Shadowlands
keeps showing up. And
Rachel's getting married.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's something about her that I don't feel like anybody's replicated, where she seems like girl next door, girl in the small town, doesn't ever even seem like she has to wear makeup. So if she has makeup in a scene, you're like, oh, she's wearing makeup
when
in this
she's
scene.
at the bar at the end of this movie where they're listening to Dire Straits,
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
that
She looks
fucking
awesome.
Hot movie star.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was just naturally beautiful and just seemed cool.
Mhm.
Like, you would just go and like have cigarettes on the porch with her. And something about how she relates with other actors. In terms of endearment, it's even better when she's married to that Jeff Daniels character and he's just a scumbag and you're rooting for her. I don't know who was like her.
So you're saying she passes the Edie Falco and Copland test of you'd have cigarettes with her on a porch?
Oh, yeah. I just think she has a very unique place in history. I always loved her.
It's in exact contrast though to her real life persona, which is like
Yeah.
kind of brittle and like fuck it, I don't care. And in the films, she's so
warm.
warm
Yeah.
and so like you just want to be close to her.
Yeah.
And it's always weird. It almost doesn't make sense when you read an interview with her that is what her personality is.
Like the way she has some of the scenes with him where when he's like being mean to her and she's like, I'm not trying to trap you. I love you. Like, she's so honest with how she pulls it out. I just think she's a
When
great
she's
actress.
just like, you're not the only one that's hurting here.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, she's great.
The Paula character, Paula the Polak, just incredible stuff. Great stuff there. And then Gossett, who this is like the Brady Anderson 50 home run season. Good actor.
Yeah.
But then in this thing, this is one of the most iconic parts, probably of the 80s.
Are you saying Gossett was juicing for this?
It might have been. Wins Best
Good take.
Supporting Actor. First black male ever to win Best Supporting Actor. And just absolutely crushes every scene. And it's one of the, I would say, would you say, Sean, this is the most memorable guy in charge of like a troupe? Or would you
Well,
go with Full Metal Jacket?
It's complicated because it is inspired entirely and coached by Arlie Ermy,
Yeah.
who then basically does the perfect version of it in Full Metal Jacket 5 years later. And you can hear like some of his lines.
And never
know.
has you know what? I really respect you, man.
Right.
Like at the end.
Right. It's just mean, which is how drill sergeants actually are.
Yeah.
I think, okay, I don't want to get ahead of my hot take, but I think it's like a little overrated at this point.
The Gossett part or the...
Yeah.
You want to
It's
do your
the-
hot take now? Let's hear it.
Well, it's the easiest part in the movie. It's
Yeah.
the showiest part in the movie. He gets all the best lines, and he's so it's like getting a great Bond villain or something. You know
So
what I
you
mean?
think he was better in Toy Soldiers?
I think he's a really good actor, and he's an actor who, like, did a lot of like grindhouse movies in the 70s and was in A Raisin in the Sun when he was a kid. Like, he's a really gifted and talented actor, so it's not about him.
I think my favorite Gossett's Dickstown.
Dickstown, that's a great movie. Like, he's great. It's not really that he's not good. It's just like Debra Winger and Gere and David Keith, I think, have like very complicated internal parts. It's a very emotional movie.
His part, that part's great.
And he's really good in this movie. And it's not, and like Louis Gossett Jr. is, I think, only the 4th Black performer in history to win an Academy Award. So like it's overdue and all that stuff is all true. But his part is him yelling and doing karate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's unmistakable.
The karate is pretty awesome.
It is pretty good.
He's like, I am also the martial arts instructor.
Well, he beat Charles Durning in Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He beat Lithgow in World of Cardinal Garp, was really good.
That is good, yeah.
Robert Preston and Victor Victoria. But then the one, if we're going to nitpick, he beats James Mason in The Verdict. The verdict has been disallowed, and furthermore, her testimony has been disallowed. He's so good in that movie. It's a tough one. I don't know if anyone's ever been better than James Mason in that movie.
I didn't have you doing Mason on my bingo card today.
Yeah. Disallowed?
Yeah.
I think Gossett's great in this movie because for all the reasons you just said, my zag would be, this could have been a really bad part in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
He's not cartoonish. And he's just really intense. Like, I never feel like he has a couple of those moments when Gere helps our girl Lisa get over the
Eyebacher. Yeah, man.
Get over the top, and Gossett just has that kind of you can see he has a heart somewhere lurking
kind of
there.
Not up to military standards, but sure, yeah.
It's a good thing we're putting her in a plane. Yeah.
Gossett wrote a book in 2010 called An Actor and a Gentleman. Revealed that Winger and Gere did not get along while shooting the movie and distanced themselves from each other whenever the camera stopped rolling. That became one of the belated tales of this movie, was how they didn't get along. And then he won some award in Italy.
It sounds like they
made up,
fought out a little bit. Yeah.
It's just so hard to believe. They're so great together.
I know.
They're just awesome together.
It's
about as good
when
as
they
you're
see
gonna
each
get.
other on the dance floor at the debutante ball or at the social. You're like, man, fucking ISO for these two.
Yeah, seriously. Doesn't get on for Best Picture. Gandhi wins. E.T. Missing. Tootsie. The Verdict. Pretty nice.
When is Gandhi as a part of that movie made how much?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, Gandhi made a lot. I would bump Missing if I had to do that over again. I'm good with the other 4, but and our guy Taylor Hackford, who, this to me is like a training wheels for Proof of Life.
Shout out to Taylor Hackford, who's probably listening.
Well, we've done, this is like the 3rd movie we've done. But he's training wheels for our beloved Proof of Life.
Yes.
Even the Caruso, having Caruso in this.
That's right.
So we've now done more Taylor Hackford movies than Stanley Kubrick movies on this podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Great. Cool.
Kubrick's just a fucking psycho.
Okay, just checking in on
We're
that.
reordering.
No, that's
the
true.
canon.
We've done two Kubrick movies.
We've
Shining.
done 3 Taylor Hackford movies.
What's the 3rd one?
Devil's Advocate.
Oh, my God. Roger Ebert.
Wait, we gotta just take a breath before you do the Roger Ebert part here. It's important.
You want to take this?
No, I just think that this is your category, but we've been going through quite a time with Raj. A lot of 2.5s.
Yeah.
A lot of him not liking what we're
one
doing here.
Toy Soldiers. I'm still hurt by that.
Is that about him or is that about you guys? That's what you got to ask
just
yourselves.
Well, Raj goes on runs, and then there's other times where, we veer the other way with him.
But this time,
4 stars. A wonderful movie, precisely because it's so willing to deal with matters of the heart. He loves story. Takes chances, takes the time to know and develop its characters. And by the time this movie's wonderful last scene comes along, we know exactly what's happening and why. And it makes us very happy. Raj.
there's romance in this movie and some unusually erotic sex. But what makes this film so special is that the sex and everything else is presented within the context of its characters finding out who they are. I just love the idea of him turning to Siskel and saying that was unusually erotic.
Well, didn't you watch the Siskel and Ebert, Sean?
I did. They both were over the moon for this movie. I think that they were kind of having the conversation in 1982 that we're having right now, which is a conversation that I have all the time, that people just have about movies all the time, which is they're constantly reaching back for what they remember movies to be when they were younger and wanting contemporary movies to be more like that. and they were like, God, they just don't make them like this anymore. Thank God they made a movie like An Officer and a Gentleman in 1982. These guys just got out of the 1970s, which was the greatest decade of American movies since the 40s. They had an amazing time, and they still were kind of wistful and mournful about what movie. Yeah. So it's interesting because this movie just makes you feel like you have been brought back to a simpler time.
Yeah, Ebert's like, we've only this year we've only had E.T. and Tootsie and The Verdict and Officer and Gentleman.
Yeah, woe is us.
God damn. We're gonna do let's start with probably not Robert Loggia naked with
No, absolutely. Definitely.
Start with there.
When I was rewatching the movie, I was like, well, what movie is this? Like, I was trying to figure, because it's the weirdest introduction to the film. It obviously explains the character. But it's really interesting, the psychology of like a guy who has a foursome with his dad.
Come on, don't go away, man.
Spits in the thing, takes a piss, throws up.
Yeah.
How many foursomes have you had with your dad?
That's really what's going on. It's truly a foursome between.
He says it's his graduation gift.
I thought it was kind of like I got you a woman, I have one for myself.
I think that's what it is, but they make it seem like Zach has just gotten out from being the mayo in the Mayo family sandwich there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he fucked his dad. I'm just saying that they were copulating simultaneously in the same room.
Yes. This is where we really needed Mallory to just come in for 5 minutes.
That's the most horrific thing I've ever seen. That's why I think I blocked it out. I was like, they had to have been in different rooms. And he just ended up, the father just took both the women.
I didn't have that for most rewatchable scene. I did want to talk about all the choices there because
let's save it.
But you could start the movie with just him showing up in the motorcycle to boot camp, right?
Yeah.
And he's got the tattoo and the motorcycle.
There's a reason why the only reason why this scene exists or any of those flashbacks exist to be like, by the way, this guy knows kung fu.
Right. Well, that's the thing.
This guy learned how to do this shit on the streets of Manila. Yeah.
I kind of like having it. I also feel like it's
good for the psychology of the character.
You could just have him get out of bed, go into the bathroom, and the dad could come in, and you could probably accomplish 99% of the same things without the 3 flashbacks.
I think you need the flashbacks, not the scene with the dad. The flashbacks are what give you the psychology of the character.
And like also the mom and how that winds up
this guy's got daddy issues. He's been abandoned.
But you could get the flashbacks. He could be lying in bed in boot camp.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And having a dream about that. But
no, we needed
like
Loggia's
having it,
torso.
but it is flawed. It's a weird way to start the movie. Most rewatchable, Foley's first scene. When he does you as a female sheep, only 2 things come out of Oklahoma.
Which then we find out he applies to almost every state.
Yeah. He just keeps
Arizona as well.
Only 2 things come out of Massachusetts.
I like when he looks at Mayo's tattoo. Oh, admire the work, or whatever he says. Great first scene for him. The first obstacle course scene I wrote down. Where Mayo crushes the course and then goes hero ball, just doesn't cheer for anybody else, and Seeger can't do it. I just like obstacle course scenes. I don't know, it's a little thing about me. If there's an obstacle course in a movie, I'm watching the scene.
I don't think there are 2 men I know on Earth who care more for Lisa Albacker than you guys. So when you watched her fail, how did you feel?
I knew that she would. I knew it just gave her more room to grow. Okay. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It was great. It gave her the strength to recover when Axel Foley wouldn't do anything with her in a hotel room. She'd lay on bed begging for it. I just wrote down for the next one, Mayo the Wop meets Paula the Polak. so funny that the classic early 80s dialogue, but they just have the electricity right away. The bar scene and the outside fight.
Yeah.
With the guy who was one of the guys from season 3 of The White Shadow, Falahay. You guys don't remember him. This is a whole, Carollo always used to talk about this. This is this movie trope where the locals being mean to military people for some reason, which I'm not sure happens in real life. It's like, oh, look at you, baby
killer,
defending the country, huh?
Warmonger.
I think there's some credible post-Vietnam stuff there that you could kind of sort of buy. I'm not sure if I would pick a fight with a guy who's in basic training, though. Like that seems like a dumb move.
Because he's like, you got your ice cream uniform on, he probably thinks he's just like a powder puff, and he turns out to be Tony Jaa.
What guy in the military is a powder puff? Like they're in the military.
CR, I love the don't pick a fight with that guy. I don't want to fight you, man.
Yeah.
And then the guy gets annihilated.
Go cool
Everyone else
off.
at the bar is
Yeah.
like, oh, man, you asshole. Next scene, Caruso almost drowns. D-O-R. Right
Great
in the
CPR
door.
by Foley there. Just really gets in
Yeah.
there. Resuscitates
Did it
him.
hurt you to see Caruso felled like that?
No, because I knew Taylor Hackford was going to redeem him in
Yeah.
Proof of Life. Stuff a legend.
Caruso is a baby in this movie. He's so young.
This next part is my pick for top 2 rewatchable scene. When he goes into the room and he hits the broom and all of Mayo's stuff comes out and he's like, I want your DOR, you're not getting it. And then he tortures him the
He's
whole
like,
weekend,
you
basically.
will by the end of the weekend. Yeah.
We have a fire hose, 100 push-ups, laps with the rifle over his head, with the Pilates torture, the I ain't gonna quit, I got nowhere else to go. This is a great stretch of a movie.
I think it's the pick.
I do too.
I ain't gonna quit.
I'm not gonna go back to having foursomes with my dad.
I remember in 2013 at Grantland, I was screaming at Chris for his DOR.
Yeah.
Want your DOR, Chris?
Yeah.
You had nowhere else to
I
go.
did.
Right?
I know. He made me move to Los Angeles. I had nowhere else to go.
Paula goes to the bar to make Mayo jealous, and
It
Dire
works.
Straits' Tunnel of Love kicks in. That's my number 2 scene in this movie. That's like, I think, the best Dire Straits song.
Yeah.
And pretty great early 80s song. And I don't know if you could have picked a better song. And it's like the perfect part of the song, too. It's a really good scene. But I like how wistful she is. And meanwhile, they're talking like they haven't seen each other in like a month and a half.
That's a nitpick for me.
Yeah. How long has it been?
Yeah.
2
It's
days.
been like 3 days.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll call you in a couple of days. And then they're like, hey, so did you graduate? It's like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the guy she was with? He's a flight instructor.
Seemed like a chode.
Yeah.
Seemed like Zach could take him.
Probably some better guys at TJ's.
You think he knew karate, that guy?
That would be incredible.
Sean's favorite scene, the second obstacle course scene, when Mayo has a chance to break the all-time record.
Yeah.
But Seagar needs the help.
He's just looking out for his guys.
Yeah.
That's what I believe in.
This is James Harden on the Clippers going from hero ball to ultimate teammate.
Just setting up
This
Bones.
is Ballmer's
Yeah.
dream for Zach
Making
Mayo
sure
as
Bones
James
gets
Harden.
his touches.
Yeah. Whirly melts down at 25K feet. This movie does a really good job with the basic training stuff of the propelling people into the water and then putting people at 25,000 feet. And then you're putting yourself into the characters. Like,
Reminds me of The Right Stuff a lot.
Yeah,
would I
very
be able to
similar.
do this?
Yeah.
And they're trying to do the patty cake and all
I
that
like this
stuff.
stuff a lot.
And
Yeah.
then Whirly starts losing. You're like, oh, no, come on, man. Come on.
I just like training sequences in movies. It's just a great format for a movie.
This movie is essentially training sequences and sex scenes.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
That sounds like a new Netflix show. Training sequences and sex scenes.
It was
It's
that was
Bulgarian, though. They
the
have to
title
dub
was
it.
either An Officer and a Gentleman, Training Sequences and Sex Scenes, or Foursomes with My Dad. Those were the 3 titles, and they went the first one.
Can I
Forces with my
greenlight
dad.
something 3 times?
Forces with my dad. Coming up next for May 24.
That was actually a Lost Mitch album.
Tuesdays with Maury prequel.
So he's
yeah.
taking ecstasy. Mayo and Paula trying to find Sid and go to Lynette's.
This is an incredible scene. I wouldn't call it the most rewatchable, but
It's
yeah.
an incredible scene.
Yeah.
He drops the C word, and it's one of the few times you overhear in the movie you're like, I can kind of see where he's coming
Yeah.
from.
So we're skipping over the
Swallowing the ring?
Yeah.
That just scares me.
It's really intense.
Yeah.
And works. You're like, oh
Yeah.
boy, this guy's fucked up now.
Um,
Is it bad that my first thought was like, oh my God, how much did that cost?
right. So Lynette, when she does I would never do that, would I, Paula? And
And Paula,
Paula's just like,
Yeah.
geez,
Tough one.
How are those Mets doing?
Yeah.
That seems awesome.
Those Mets.
How are, the Mariners have a game today?
Yeah.
They're in Seattle.
You guys hear
The Mariners?
Dave Kingman, 2 for 3 yesterday.
Then Mayo versus Foley in the blimp hanger. I mean, going there to talk, boy. Your blood's as red as mine. What'd you think it kicked the balls to end it?
it's a scene from a completely different movie, but I enjoyed it. It was basically a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie for 4 minutes, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Also, just the idea that like the army, like, is there any oversight of Foley whatsoever? Like,
Can you just
how many
do
guys
that?
you died this term? Foley just one.
Is
Great,
that
good job?
Is that something that you can do in the military? Is just challenge your drill sergeant to a karate match? Like,
Right. Kind of went off the rails.
Yeah.
I like when Foley gives the assignments out. That could have lasted like 3 more minutes.
Mm.
Lieutenant Seagar, Gunner, Sergeant.
That
Just a
scene is
thing.
great.
Yeah.
That's Gossett's
Good
like,
music.
Oscar sequence, not the yelling stuff.
Gere.
It's- yeah.
I'll never forget you, sir.
What does he tell him after he says that?
I know.
Yeah, I know.
But does he say like keep it moving or
He says,
something?
get out of here.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get out of here. I was like, oh, right.
And then the ending, the way to go, Paula. Pulling them out. And they don't play the famous song that became number one and was
Well,
on
that's like,
for
we're
a
still
minute.
friends, right?
Yeah, but that's like, good luck, guys.
Do I get a wedding invite? Can I get a plus
Bridesmaid?
one?
Bridesmaid bachelorette party?
Oh man, she's got Sid's blood on her hands.
Great ending. What do you have for most rewatchable scene?
I think the challenging him over the long weekend, the DOR, is the best scene in the movie.
You know what? It is, but I'm gonna go with TJ's bar. And,
Oh,
just
Dire
the
Straits.
two of them being like really, really good at people who were intimate and now are like, maybe we're not anymore.
I don't, and not to be a pervert, but I'm not opposed to watching the sex scene again. It's unlike any sex scene you'll ever see in
It's really
2023.
well lit.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's like kind of seems real.
It does.
Yeah. And
And
you
Debra
don't see
Winger
that.
was not a fan of it.
Is that true?
Yeah, you will get
That's
to
too
that.
bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they had to. It was going to be an X rating if they didn't change a couple of the angles.
They had to get a couple closer in shots.
Yeah.
I see.
There was some hip movement that the censors were like, this is an X.
Do the
They
censors
said,
know that
point
people
blank,
have
we're going
sex?
X.
They were
Do they
like-
know that?
They were like, group stuff with your pops. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Winger cannot
Yeah.
enjoy herself though.
Logia's pubes are. What's age the best? What do you got, CR? You jump in.
Two chicks
I'm gonna
smoking.
share the ball like Mayo.
Two chicks smoking, listening to Pat Benatar, and getting ready for the weekend. I love it. We used to really be an amazing country.
Yeah.
Changing in the car.
Yeah.
Listen to
Lisa
Treat Me
Blount and
Right.
Deborah Winger smoking and listening to Pat Benatar.
Why do they make the Puget Sound seem like the middle of Wyoming though? Like this is not.
Or like Pennsylvania.
Is it like such a rural
Yeah, but
area?
I think it's kind of like with the Vision Quest thing where it's not it's a little bit more of like a frontier town still. It has a
Okay.
little bit of like a reckless, it's like a Navy town. Seattle was a Navy town for a long time.
Yeah. Okay.
What else do you have? Anything?
I have Paula.
I wrote down Paula and Lynette are incredible characters.
Yeah.
We haven't
Just
talked about
said
Lisa
earlier.
Blunt yet.
Great character. Don't love the hairdo. I had that in What Stage the Worst.
Very
but
1982 though.
Very 1982. But
She kind of looks like she's auditioning for a punk band a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah. Like she's rejected to replace Joan Jett in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Romantics or something.
The place they have her living, like the side of the road shack, but has like nice plants inside, is like such a great touch.
She's a great character. And this was, I think, the highlight for her for acting. I know she bounced around.
She's in the
after
Carpenter
this, but
movie. She's in the Mouth of Madness, right?
Yeah, she's been in a bunch of stuff. She was
Or Prince of Darkness.
She was in Great Balls of Fire. She was in Needful Things. She's married to Ray McKinnon and won an Oscar for co-directing a short film.
She is not.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. And I think she was on, what was that show that he created that you guys liked?
Rectify.
Rectify. I think she
Yeah.
was on that too. She's a good actress.
This specific part and look, I feel like we always have people like 20 years later, this movie's made. Jamie Presley's she's this character.
Yeah. The
Like,
harlot,
it's-
the distrustful harlot.
Harlot, but you feels like that little background of like buys lottery tickets on the weekends.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foursomes with her dad.
My next What's Age the Best, I just wrote Caruso with an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Good to see him with the crew cut.
Sure.
I want your DOR just as a life concept.
That aged the best.
Yeah, just like DOR. Just
Yeah.
the concept.
I don't
of
think most human resources departments allow that anymore.
HR department. Obstacle course scenes we mentioned. I like the whole Puget Debs when Gossett's warming about them. I don't know what Debs, I guess Puget
Debutantes.
debutantes.
Debutantes. Yeah. Yeah.
But is that sarcastic?
Yes.
Yeah.
You scuzzy college pukes, better watch out. Water submerged machines.
Wait,
This
what
is-
aged the best water submergence machines?
Those it was fascinating to watch people get thrown into that and have
Yeah.
to unbuckle their seatbelt.
What does what stage the best mean?
Just like you don't get to see scenes like these in movies anymore.
Okay.
That would probably be a more accurate description of it. I think that I would be curious to know what of the pilot training you think you could do. Submergence.
Well, I have contact lenses, so I just would have drowned when we went underwater.
Well, what do you do when you go swimming?
I really would have enjoyed the obstacle course. I feel like back in the day, I could have been good at that.
Yeah.
Okay. The 25,000 feet might have fucked me up.
I think that if you saw Foley and Mayo having a martial arts battle, you would have had
I would have got bets.
Incredible same game parlay for that.
Oh, I would have. As we were walking over, I would have bet 5 people. I'd have been like, I got Foley minus 140.
This thing ends, kick to the balls, either side wins. Yeah.
Over under 4.5 kicks, Foley.
Have you ever attempted
a roundhouse kick?
Like a kick?
I'm sure in
like
the
against
height
a human person
of Karate Kid, me and another kid were like, let's do that.
Yeah.
But I've never done it in earnest, like in a fight.
Did you ever land a kick?
I don't think so.
It's the most violent act you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like when someone is actually kicked in the head. Like
it's
that's
the most
demonic.
It's like 20 punches. I have for What's Age the Best. I like anytime there's hair shaving scenes in movies when people start with the long hair and then like Stripes has a great one.
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket has
great
one.
Yeah.
Always works. We mentioned Whirly swallowing the ring. You mentioned Pat Benatar's Treat Me Right.
Yeah.
Just having Benatar just roots this movie right in 1982.
Yes,
it's
that's
perfect.
exactly what they would be rocking out to.
Yeah. Politically incorrect military running songs probably has aged the best and the worst. It's just funny that they did this in the 40 years ago.
What do you
say the worst possible
do they still
thing.
train to like self-sung music?
Yeah, I just completed basic training. So
did you guys just sang Call Me Maybe?
Yep. The whole time. It was Teenage Dream, actually. Yeah.
The opening and closing credits great in this movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Really good.
Are we underselling for What's Age the Best? Him coming back, literally sweeping her off her feet while the music is pumping and everybody in the factory is like, fuck yeah.
Cheering. Clapping.
Yeah.
I had the ending. I also like Grace Zabriskie as the mom, kind of doing like a warm-up for Twin Peaks, too. That's Laura Palmer's
Where do you
mom.
stand? Yeah, that's a good one. Where do you stand on the dads in movies like this who just don't say anything and just stare at the
stepdad?
A little catatonic.
Yeah.
The catatonic kind of semi-intimidating character. Feels like a recurring theme of the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. My reading of that one, though, is because his wife is so hung up on her ex who was in that training program. And so he's like, anybody who is in that world, he hates.
The Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award for Best Needle Drop has to go to Dire Straits.
Over Joe Cocker?
Well, they don't play Joe Cocker until the closing credits. I don't know if that counts.
All right.
It doesn't count as a needle drop.
I mean, the Dire Straits moment is
This
great.
is a really big Amanda Dobbins point, which I always liked, was that your movie shouldn't be able to be nominated for Best Song at the Academy Awards if it doesn't play in the movie. If you just use it as the end credit song, it shouldn't be eligible.
I think
they
that's
kind
a
of
great point.
What At Close Range does with the Madonna song, where they turn the song into a bit of the score.
Yeah,
that is
I like
true.
that.
They do that.
Yeah, I like that. I just saw another movie that did that too. I can't remember what it was.
I can't believe
Was it
that
the Marvels?
Benatar didn't win Kid Cudi. Because I'm
For
with
me?
you. No, just in general. Dire Straits clearly wins.
Yeah.
But Benatar is just a great runner-up. No shame in being second in this movie.
We should label this pod top 5 Dire Straits songs plus an Officer and a Gentleman.
Force him with my dad.
Would be. Yeah.
Big Kahuna Burger Award, best use of food to drink. I don't know, mashed potatoes at Paula's house.
Paula's mom's chicken.
Yeah.
Zach's like, good meal.
Den of Thieves, Benihana Award, scene stealing location, probably the blimp hangar.
Ooh,
great location.
Yeah.
Good. It almost feels a little Kumite blood sport.
It does. And why is there like a platform set up?
I
Well, he's
the
the martial arts coach. She's like,
But he's like, we put blimps in here, but what you have to do is build me a ramp so that I can walk up to have fights.
I wonder if Foley slid that in at the end of the drill instructor meeting. It's like, just real quick before we break, nobody's using the blimp hangar this weekend, right? I can have blood sport in there? Yeah? Okay, no, good. See you guys
Anybody
Monday.
to clean the blood off? What do you have for Great Shot Gordo Award, Chris?
I have the tracking shot of Zach carrying Paul out of the factory. I think it's
the
pretty
freeze
iconic.
frame. Yeah, freeze frame.
Great freeze frame. Freeze frame maybe should be a category. What's the best freeze frame of all time?
Oh boy. I don't know.
Breakfast Club?
It's a good one.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Way
John
to go,
at the
Craig.
end, great call.
The John Bender Freeze Frame Award for Best Freeze Frame.
The Robert Loggia.
This is how the sausage gets made,
Yeah.
folks.
Right
This
here,
is how we
baby.
do it.
Butch's Girlfriend Award for Weak Link of the Film. I honestly couldn't come up with a weak link for this movie.
Every actor is good in the film.
I liked every performance. I didn't get bored at any point in the movie.
I feel I had the same thing for P break. I was like,
I had no pee break. I didn't even have pee break down.
there's
there.
I suppose if you've seen this movie a few times, you don't have to watch every obstacle course run. But as we know from sitting with you, that's one of your favorite parts of the movie.
I would watch Craig run an obstacle course
Do you watch?
right now.
When you watch Survivor? Do you focus on the challenges? Do you like the
Yeah,
challenge?
I love the challenges. It's more fun than watching people get mad at each other because somebody ate some rice.
Just completely disagree.
Where's the rice? There was more rice.
I like the social aspect of it more.
Yeah. Survivor's still cranking, man. Still kicking ass. It's amazing.
What's aged the worst? We mentioned the opening scene, what the right cut of that. I don't know what the right version of that is, but I don't know if they landed the plane. Gossett's karate double bothers me on the blimp hanger. There's a couple clear that's not Lou Gossett moments in the
There's
fight.
some half-ass internet research about why that
Oh
is.
yeah. Lynette's haircut we mentioned. Don Simpson, Chris's hero. Chris said, if I could do cocaine with anyone in the 80s, it would be Don Simpson.
You probably
quote.
have the best stuff.
Yeah.
It seems
This is
really
elite.
dangerous. Yeah.
He did not like Up Where We Belong. He said, the song is no good. It isn't a hit. And wanted it to be cut from the film. He wanted On the Wings of Love with Jeffrey Osborne, which is a solid song. But he was wrong, and it became the #1 song on Billboard. What's aged the worst? Lynette dumping Sid. I know it's part of the movie, but it just hurts every time. It's just so brutal. It's
Yeah.
got to be one of the most brutal breakups in any movie. Where she goes from, oh my God, we're going to get married. Where are we going to be stationed? And then she's like, I'm not pregnant. I never wanted to get married. In like 3 minutes.
Would you still feel that way if he had not hanged himself nude in the shower?
No, the scene itself makes me really.
Because if they broke up and he was like, oh, I moved back home and got my job at JCPenney's and I met another girl, would you feel that way? Because it was like, I don't know, she broke up with him.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
okay.
it's also an order of
3
operations
minutes
thing.
after saying she was yes to marriage with him.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
If
I still
you're
like that guy.
if you're Sid, it's like you're a week out. Like just become an officer and then worry about things. Like you don't have to like.
There's clearly a lot more wrong with Sid than the movie lets us know
Yes.
all the way up until that moment.
Well, he's got the brother who died.
He's promised to his widow.
But in a 5-minute window, maybe like 7 minutes in the movie, he thinks she might be pregnant. He starts talking about the responsibility he has to her. He does the test, has a panic attack, buys the ring, proposes to her, gets dumped and kills himself in this like tiny little window
Yeah,
of the
it's
movie.
It's in like 2 hours.
It's almost like there's a scene missing from somewhere.
maybe
although
this
you
is
can-
the weak link.
You can kind of see in the dinner scene with Zach and Sid's parents that
Mhm.
there's obviously like
That's true.
they hate him. Like or
There's a
they-
tension
He's
there.
not as good as his brother was or whatever.
That's true.
What's aged the worst? In the original script, Mayo's dad, Byron, for some reason he was named Byron, visited his son during training and had a much bigger role. Would you have wanted Loggia at the closing ceremony?
Would he have had his shirt on?
Just shirtless Loggia. Hey, you did it, buddy.
My what's age the worst is Byron Mayo's much maligned podcast Parent Corner. Now here's what you want to do when you got you, your son, and 2 lovely ladies in a queen size bed. You're gonna go head to toe.
You gotta really cuddle.
I feel like Byron Mayo is a little bit on Wayne Jenkins' corner here. Like there's something burgeoning
trying to
here.
do
Oh
Loggia.
my God, we might replace Wayne Jenkins. Do we have to add Byron Mayo to the Wayne Jenkins category?
Yeah, but he only ever suggests foursomes. Head to toe, we get a little Johnson & Johnson's going in there. Everybody's feeling it. Lube up, who cares?
I'm glad we zeroed in on this because when I was watching the movie, I was like, why is no one talking about the force?
Byron Mayo.
Yeah.
Any other what's age the worst for you guys?
I don't think the margins on Zach's side business were very good. It seemed like he was like
Yeah.
paying
Completely agree.
$20 to sell stuff for 10, maybe.
It's like he wanted to get caught.
And then there's just like an amazing like only in 1982 moment where like Paula's teenage sister is openly flirting with Zach at dinner.
Yeah.
And people aren't like, hey, knock that shit off.
I'm not sure that the trap the pilot strategy is like really a sound one for a lifestyle. Like to build your entire social life and expectations around I'm gonna get pregnant from a pilot and then my life will be set.
Right.
That's kind of insane. Has that aged well? Does that make sense?
That would probably, it would get criticized now about the movie.
But they
People be
debated
like, women are
at least Paul is like, I wouldn't.
I'm not even trying to say in like a politically correct way, like that's wrong. I mean, just like from a lifestyle perspective,
Sure,
if you're a 20-year-old woman living in Puget Sound, working at the paper factory, you're like, my ticket out is to get pregnant from a guy who might hate me.
Right.
That's insane.
Yeah. I don't know if there was a lot of strategizing in the old factory. I think it was more like, do you have an extra pack of Pall
I think the candle
Malls?
of like, maybe I get to move to Hawaii is pretty sick though.
You can see that from Lynette.
Yeah.
She's very fired up. That's her first thought
Is
when she gets
Honolulu?
proposed
Yeah.
to is some moving to Hawaii, you know.
The Mallory Rubin Award. Did this movie need a better sex scene?
Nope.
Career? No.
Couldn't happen.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
I think we should have gotten Mallory for this one. This would have been a great Mallory pod.
She's literally in the
Not
room
bad.
next
I
door,
know,
Bill.
it's a terrible job by me. Was there a better title for this movie? No. Best quote. You're all alone in this world. Once you got that down, nothing hurts anymore.
Is that a life lesson or a quote?
Zach Mayo.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hottest take award. What do you got, CR?
I think that the more I watch this movie, I kind of love Lynette. And I really don't mind where she's coming from. I think she's a straight shooter. And
She's got real CR energy. She's in the nervy blonde zone.
yeah.
She's in the nervy blonde zone.
And when she's just like smoking, sitting in her sweater, and she's just like, look, I told it to him straight. What do you want?
New class coming in.
Yeah.
You marrying Lynette would lead to you having a foursome with your future son with Lynette. I think that's the chaos of that choice.
Byron
That's right.
CR
Yeah.
Mayo.
Yeah. That's like, we'd have to do Back to the Future to stop me from doing that.
What do you have for hottest take?
I already did mine.
Oh, yeah, you're the Bears.
What's yours?
I'm really passionate about this one. Richard Gere, worst movie kisser ever.
It's so interesting. I thought the opposite. I was like, people
like
don't
eats
kiss
the
like
mic.
this in movies, and I was like, this guy
They were
wants he wants to
kissing.
get after it.
They were kissing.
He like eats noses and upper lips and
He's also a
sides
big,
of faces.
grabs the face before the kiss.
Yeah.
He'll like grab her by the jawline and it's just like, oh, it's
Is that not how you
fucking
kiss?
on.
I always feel bad for the actress when I'm watching Richard Gere movies because it's like, did they put like A1 sauce on their face so he can like go to town like it's a filet mignon? What's he doing?
Yeah.
A1 sauce.
Rich, just close your eyes and think of your dad. Go for it.
Casting what ifs. I just got to start with this thing online that John Denver claimed he was asked to be Zach Mayo and didn't like the script.
Mm-hmm.
This had been kicking around for like 5 or 6 years.
John Denver as Zach Mayo is the dumbest thing I've ever read on the internet.
It's possible no one would have ever seen this film if
Yeah.
that had happened.
I don't even know what's the equivalent of John Denver now.
Michael Bublé.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Apparently, Jeff Bridges was Taylor Hackford's original choice for the lead role and turned it down because he was busy. Came back 2 years later with what movie? Him and Hackford?
Against all odds.
Against all odds.
Yeah.
Another Taylor Hackford is just like, I don't get out of bed unless I get a fucking #1 hit song in my movie.
And
Yeah.
Bill Simmons and Chris Ryan watching it.
Yeah. What's the #1 hit song in The Devil's Advocate?
The Devil's Advocate by Phil Collins.
Yeah. Travolta turned down the role. Gere beat out Bridges. Well, not, I guess Bridges turned it down. Harry Hamlin and Christopher Reeve. Costner auditioned. The role of Paula bounced around.
Can I just say, like, in the spirit of casting what ifs, this would have been a big deal for Harry Hamlin.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the difference between being a
Being in
long-time
Making
TV
Love with
star
Michael Onkin. Yeah.
to this is pretty huge.
Paula, Sigourney Weaver had it. Didn't take.
That would not have been
Angelica
right.
Houston.
Neither of those would have been right.
And then Jennifer Jason Leigh was in, and then she dropped out because she got fast time.
She could have been good.
Not as good as Debra Winger.
They were kind of similar.
There were a couple other people that auditioned: DeMornay, Meg Ryan, and Gina Davis.
DeMornay way too hot.
Yeah.
Way too
She would've been
classic.
DeMornay
Fun
is
Lynette.
yeah, Lynette would have
Also
been
in the
great.
CR zone, DeMornay.
Apparently they went to Jack Nicholson for Foley and he said no. And then they really loved Mandy Patinkin
And
and they decided he was too ethnic to play a
Right.
drill instructor.
What?
Taylor Hackford said,
That's too Jewish to be in the military. That's what that is.
Well, then they did research in Florida and they learned that basically every top drill instructor was black. So
Mm.
like, oh, we got to get a black guy.
all of these decisions feel very Don Simpson-y.
Yeah.
Like, he's too ethnic. Wait.
Ruffalo Hannah Rubinick Partridge overacting award. I got nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
It's both overacting and iconic.
But it's
I
also
can't
like,
even,
that's the perfect one here.
yeah. It's great though. Spits flying out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So good.
Maybe a little bit of Lynette, like, way to go, Paula.
Yeah. Best that guy award. I have one, but did you have any others you were excited about?
Harold Sylvester is Perryman. Grace Zabriskie, that guy? No, Grace Zabriskie. Tony Plana.
Tony Plana was my
Yeah.
pick.
Clear out, guys. Go spot in the corner and on the right. Give me the ball. I got ISO me on the left here. Harold Sylvester. First of all, he bounced around on TV and was on $6 Million Man, What's Happening, and the Hardy Boys Nancy Drew Mystery. So already I kind of knew who he was. He was DC Dacey in Fast Break, my favorite sports movie of all time. That's, I think, been canceled. It's so inappropriate. He's amazing in that movie. He's in Inside Moves. He plays a member of the Golden State Warriors. CR refuses to see it. It's the ultimate CR movie. He's just trying to hurt me at this point every time I bring it up.
It's a good film.
I will watch this movie tonight.
He's in Officer and a Gentleman, and he's in Vision Quest. Mic drop.
Yeah. Is your favorite
just
actor
love
of all
it.
time? Yeah.
I just love this guy. Well, the weirder thing to me is that he didn't seem to be competing against anybody for the role of a 6'5" black guy for like 10 years.
Mhm.
Forrest
was
Whitaker market corrected
And then Forrest Whitaker came in and started getting stuff.
in Fast Times, and he was done.
But I think he's good in every movie. Like he's good in this. You just like him. There's
Yeah.
something likable about him. He's good in Vision Quest. He kind of goes on a couple dates with Linda Fiorentino's character.
He's so likable in this that when he walks through the part of the floor that Mayo's been polishing, you're like, yeah, man, fuck Mayo. You should walk through this. Like,
right.
He could have given you a belt buckle.
In Fast Break, he plays DC Dacey, who's like the best player in high school, but some sort of gambling scandal happens and he just disappears and he's hiding in New York City.
Mm.
Then Gabe Kaplan goes and gets him and they drive to Las Vegas. Amazing stuff. Like nice game too. Good basketball game. I'm
Who'd you
trying to
compare
think
him to?
like a Tobias Harris.
Oh,
Yeah.
Long Island
That kind
Zone.
of thing.
yeah.
Love it.
Next category is Deion Waiters.
Mm-hmm. It's about as good as the Waiters categories we've had in a while.
Loja locks it up 4
Mhm.
minutes in.
Byron Mayo in a
Byron-
landslide.
It's almost a Deion Waiters Byron Mayo category.
That's Byron Mayo.
But there's some other good ones, like Paul's dad. I love Bunny, the surly factory worker.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like doing the whole,
Yeah.
yeah, he's gonna leave you.
May they all crash and burn.
I don't know if Seeger's in it too much, but I think our girl Lisa's really good. Who else would you have?
I think Victor French, the stepfather,
Hmm.
who's just eyeballing.
Yeah.
He gets one scene and he leaves a strong impression.
And her mom, who you mentioned. is
Yeah, and
really
Grace
good.
Zabriskie,
Yeah, maybe
she's
Grace
really
Zabriskie
good.
would be up
I
there,
like her.
but it's
But
hard.
Loja. Yeah,
Loja
come on.
gets it.
Recasting couch. I wouldn't touch it. You could talk me into like different Lynnettes, but I just think that's such a good part. A lot of people would have crushed it, but other than that, I wouldn't touch it.
Lynette Sharon Stone.
Interesting. Irreconcilable differences there, Sharon Stone.
Just think
Wow.
about it. Just think about it.
That's pretty great.
I don't know, man.
You, Lisa Blunt. That's your
No, I just think Sharon Stone as Lynette is like, they can't keep that contained in a
Okay,
sound.
okay.
You know,
What about
DeMornay was a good one too for Lynette.
anybody you would put in the David Keith,
yeah, Randy Quaid?
Oh. Hanks?
Judge Reinhold.
Hanks, bosom buddies, pulling him
Hanks.
out.
Ooh, Hanks.
Little Oklahoma accent.
Wow. What if it was Dennis Quaid in the gear part?
He's another one who's in this whole mix with
The
those
white guy
white guy
race.
parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dennis Quaid easily could have been
He
Gear.
could have done that.
It's not a recasting couch, but I think Foley, 26 years later, would have been an amazing Denzel part.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a better actor than Louis Gossett, as much as I love Louis Gossett. But that Denzel kind of would have been a cross between Training Day. But did Denzel ever do military? Guess he did The Siege.
Yeah, he did. What's the
Ed Zook movie?
A Crimson
Well, he did
Tide.
Crimson Tide, but he also.
But
did
I'm saying like
Courage Under Fire.
mean-spirited screaming guy.
and
Courage Under
Glory
Fire.
is kind of
Glory?
a military movie. Yeah.
Guy loves
He never
military.
played a guy like this.
But
though.
wait, wasn't he in like a training
Macbeth?
movie? What's like one of his early movies?
Soldier Story. He's in a Soldier Story.
Yeah.
He's been in 5 military movies. Look at that.
He would have been good in this. Half-assed internet research.
There's a great lieutenant / drill instructor type in is it Adolf Caesar who plays him in
Yep.
Soldier Story? Yeah, that's an amazing part of that role.
I haven't seen that one. I can't remember though.
Oh, such a
That's
good
not
movie.
even on. I think all.
It's a great movie. Norman Jewison, awesome movie.
Yeah, that movie's not on. So this film was based on the screenwriter Douglas Day Stewart, who had his own experiences as a naval aviation officer candidate. But he was this TV writer for years and then decided to write about what happened to him at candidate school. And it's interesting. Paula was a real character that he dated but ended up not marrying.
Yeah.
So that's always going to help when you have that much of insight.
When I was watching the movie again and remembering how specific it is about this experience, I was like, this guy must have gone through this. Like, there's
Basically,
no,
yeah.
it's so, the details are so specific.
Like the bars and like
the whole
everything about it.
lifestyle, the whole world that he created is really good.
It's like when Chris writes his Grantland movie. You're like, God,
What will that be
so
called?
realistic for an early
Fig and
2010s
flour.
website.
Yeah.
Pig and flour. That's good.
So the medals that Foley has, a Vietnam Service Medal, a Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal, a Gallantry Cross Unit Citation, a Bronze Star, a Purple Heart Presidential Unit Citation, Combat Action. He has like, but you can look up all of them for apparently on the internet.
It's good. It's cool that they don't stop to go through all of them.
No. Hackford made Gossett stay in a condo 20 miles from the movie so that he didn't interact with anybody. I like when directors do that.
I like that.
You mentioned Arlie Army. Our girl Lisa Elbacher, she said she was in incredible shape and it actually
This is
made her
such a
mad. She had to
flex.
botch. Yeah, she had to box the obstacle course.
She had to
scenes.
pretend to be out of shape.
She said she was in the best condition of anyone.
That rules.
That's your girl. I mean, she's like 5'1".
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
We've also done more Lisa Albacher movies than Stanley Kubrick movies.
More than Billy Wilder. More than Cecil B. DeMille.
I'm fine with it. She's
Okay.
Can we do the Winger thing?
Well, you want to do Gossett Karate first?
Sure. You can do Gossett Karate first.
Gere in 2013 said he had mastered karate.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
Sure.
Gossett struggled. And then during the filming, he accidentally kicked Gossett in the groin, and Gossett didn't come back to the set for 2 days. And they used a trained karate master as a stand-in for
Yeah.
a couple of
Gere
the
was
scenes.
probably like, I kicked his ass too.
Gere, I've mastered karate.
Yeah.
Foley puts Mayo's dollar in his right pocket and not his left pocket at the end there, which is everything's supposed to go in left pocket, and he puts right pocket. It was
'Cause-
like a little fuck you.
Okay.
The motel, if you want to stay at the motel, it's called the Tides
Where
Inn.
Sid dies?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I
the
want
one where
his room.
where the sex scene was. It was all the same hotel.
Yeah. Ups and downs at that hotel.
Yeah. Wild ride. The Blimp Hangar is now a 1,200 seat performing arts center called the McCurdy Pavilion.
Oh.
Yeah. It was originally called the Kumite. He changed it.
Gere's riding a 750cc T140E Triumph Bonneville.
Incredible motorcycle.
Awesome
bike.
I do not care about motorcycles, but that
Yeah.
bike is awesome.
Gere did not like the ending of the film. Thought it was too corny. And then they rehearsed it, and the people in the factory started to get emotional, and
Mhm.
they realized they should do it. Now Gere's like, good move. Douglas Day Stewart, just reading his credits from 76 to 89, they include The Boy in the Plastic Bubble, The Blue Lagoon, An Officer and a Gentleman, Thief of Hearts, elite movie. Listen to me.
I don't know if I've ever heard of Thief of Hearts. Who's in it? Just relax. Who's in it?
Come on, Chris.
Who's in Thief of Hearts?
Our guy, Stephen Bauer.
Okay.
He's a thief. I've told you this on other rewatchables. He's a thief with Caruso.
Oh, okay.
They break into somebody's house and they steal her diary, and she's got all these things that she wrote about her dream guy, and he becomes the dream guy
Oh,
because he knows all
wow.
of the buttons to push, and she doesn't realize she's with her burglar. It's good. Good script.
It's
Sean would agree.
Douglas Day Stewart. Probably Douglas Day Stewart's directorial debut and more or less the end of his career.
Well, they
Elite
listen to me.
movie.
Listen to Me was the one, the debate movie
Yeah, that's
with
his next
Amanda
movie.
Peterson
Yeah.
and like Roy Scheider.
It's a good cast. Let me see who's in that
It's a
movie.
good cast.
Yeah. It's Kirk Cameron, Jamie Gertz, Roy Scheider, Amanda Peterson. Yeah.
Saw it in the theater. Not ashamed to admit.
Yeah.
Debate
Incredible.
movies never caught
Look at
on.
this poster. It was the best time of their lives.
And then when David Keith swallowed the engagement ring, apparently there was a string attached so they could
pull it back out.
What
Yeah.
did you have for Winger?
She negotiated her own contract without an agent.
Okay.
And did not think to or have a nudity clause, so that when she got like a rewrite of the script and the sex scene was much more explicit, she was like, ah, shit.
I think that's what happened to Gary Sheffield too when he negotiated his own deal, as I recall.
Yeah. So if
Forgot.
if Rich Paul had been there, who knows how this movie would have
Jesus.
turned out?
Apex Mountain. I'm going to say yes for Gere.
Because this is Gigolo in this, and
Yeah. He really felt like he was A+ list after
I
this.
think so.
This movie was
is
massive.
Days of Heaven like his basically first movie or what?
It's his third movie, I think, but his first like starring part.
Winger, it's Terms of Endearment.
Yeah.
David Keith, it's this. Gossett, it's this.
Yeah.
Military training type movies, I still think it's Private Benjamin. It felt like that movie was a bigger movie.
I think it's Full Metal
It's
Jacket.
Jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket is a legendary movie.
You think that's Apex Mountain for training movies?
Yes, the
Absolutely.
first half of the movie is just training.
Over Private Benjamin?
Yes.
No one has seen Private Benjamin under the age of 35. Not a single person in the world.
No,
Hold on, I'm looking this up. now.
you're gonna Google, has anyone under 35 watched Private Benjamin?
I like Private Benjamin. It's pretty good, but Full Metal Jacket is a 5-star classic.
I'm looking at domestic box office for 1980. Private Benjamin, 6th. Was between
That
Any
made
Which
how
Way
much
You Can.
money?
69 million.
Yeah.
That was just domestic.
Is
So
that
you're saying for film nerds, it's Full Metal Jacket.
no? Why does it have to be like that? Full Metal Jacket is an iconic film.
What do you think, Craig?
I mean, I've never heard of the other movie. you're
Private
talking about.
Benjamin?
No.
Yeah, it's not a known movie to young people.
It started this whole craze of military movies. Private Benjamin, then they ripped it off for 7 years.
There
with
were military movies
movies
before
I know,
Private
but like
Benjamin.
this.
I don't doubt it. I'm just saying that Full Metal Jacket it is the apex.
I think you guys are right. I just wanted to
Okay.
talk it out.
okay. You want to have a phone call?
How about Puget Sound?
Absolutely.
Let's do a live rewatchables of Private Benjamin at Harvard and see and show young people.
Yeah.
It was Goldie Hawn's last like awesome movie.
The fun thing about that one is it got like 3 or 4 Oscar nominations. It was
Your
at
guy
that
Albert
time.
Brooks is in it.
Yeah, I know.
The movie was really successful.
Isn't it Nancy Myers and Charles Shire? Didn't they
Yeah,
write it?
that
Yeah,
movie's like
yeah.
a great movie.
directed
You just
it?
shit on it.
Is it Herbert Ross? Who directed?
I
Private
knew you'd
Benjamin?
support the patriarchy with your choice.
That's incredible. Private Benjamin is directed by Howard Zeef.
Our top 10 in 1980 was Star Wars, 9 to 5, Stir Crazy, Kramer versus Kramer, Any Which Way You Can, Private Benjamin, Coal Miner's Daughter, Smokey and the Bandit 2, The Blues Brothers, and Ordinary People.
Mm.
The Shining was 12th, Caddyshack was 14th, and Friday the 13th was 15th. Raging Bull down at 20th.
Mm.
They really made movies back then.
They're still making them.
Yeah.
I swear.
Apex Mountain. Anything else?
From internet research.
The Triumph Bonneville.
Oh,
Never seen a better motorcycle, probably in a movie.
I think that there have been other apexes from
No,
motorcycles. and from
cool motorcycles. though.
the
The
wild
wild
ones.
one,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know.
Easy Rider.
It's a good one. Pulp Fiction.
Bronx Tale.
It's a chopper.
Another
baby.
48 hours.
Pick and Nits. Whirly taunting Foley from the boat when he's torturing
Yeah.
Mayo.
Seemed like it was in a
Just feel
different
like-
movie.
Really, you're doing that? Like everybody's supposed to be terrified of Foley. He's talking shit to him, saying he's a queer.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like that adds up. This is a pretty big nitpick for
Agree.
me. The hotel clerk, Mayo's like, hey, is Sid staying here? And he's like, yeah, he's in room 14. He wasn't like, he's fucking on one, man. And I just
think
watched
if
him
you're
swallow
a
ring.
hotel clerk, you're seeing a lot of stuff. There's more than a couple of dad orgies coming through
I see.
the door at the motel.
He has facilitated father foursomes.
I just think that like in every film, is there ever a hotel clerk who's just like, boy, I'm really a super observant guy. He's like,
Right.
oh God, if I can just get through my day.
There should be. Do you think there is hotel clerk client privilege? like with lawyers, like they can't reveal any secrets.
Yeah, look,
Or, like,
this
it's
guy
like
paid
going-
me his $6.
I would say
have-
definitely not.
Yeah.
It's like
give
going to
that
a
guy
shrink.
buck.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
it told. What else do you have for picking nits? I have
It's
one
really
more.
confusing how much time passes at the end of this
Yeah.
movie. It's like he goes to dinner at Paula's house. She tells him about her real father, and then she's like, "So call me this weekend." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try, but I'm gonna be busy."
Mhm.
Then there's that whole like she freaks out. He doesn't pick up the phone, but she's gonna go find him. But her mom is like, "Don't go." And then it kind of like a scene goes by, and then it seems like a month has gone by, but it may be just 2 days because he's like, "Sorry, I didn't call you this weekend," but she's already on to like.
Even the first 4 weeks go by super fast because they say they're not allowed to leave
Well,
for 4 weeks. Then all of a sudden,
it's
they're at
also
a
the whole
party.
thing is with the hair. It's like
Yeah.
it's like grows out an inch in a month. Remember, because that's how they
Mhm.
identify themselves to the girls.
Yeah. The final
Uh,
2/3 of the school is the timing is confusing. You don't know
so
where
it's
you
just
are.
it's obviously the end of their training, but it seems like Zach and Paula haven't seen each other in weeks, but it's been days, and he's like, "Yeah, like sorry we broke up," and she's just like, "Well, whatever, like have a good one," you know.
I would have liked maybe one more character that he's training with. Felt like we were one light. The short guy, Caruso's out, Harold Sylvester, Seeger, and that's it.
It would have been cool if there was another alpha guy in the group that he has to dominate to like get everybody's.
Or-
But then,
yeah,
then you have Top Gun.
Yeah.
Then you have an
If he has
Iceman.
Iceman?
Yeah, we needed this movie. Might have needed Iceman, but I don't
It's
know.
not the movie. Yeah, this is a romantic drama. It's not a movie about the military. Like there's military stuff in it, but that's not. I don't think it's ultimately what it's about.
Because at the end, the payoff, because we've already lost Caruso and we lost what's
Sid.
Worley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're doing the pins, and it's like, I only know 3 of these other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, right.
He's hugging people. I don't even know who he's hugging.
Are the classes in those officers' trainings actually that small? I mean, it is like 14 people.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they moved through them in 3 months, so maybe that's why the class size is smaller. I had for picking nits. Did Zach ever get good at math, or did Sid do it all for him? And now Zach is supposed to be like a fighter pilot who
Good
doesn't
question.
know math.
Good question.
I think that's disturbing. And then the final scene, honestly, workplace liability comes up here where Zach pretty much like starts kissing Paula's neck while she's operating heavy machinery. And that could have gone wrong. She could have lost a hand. And if she had, I would like to see if Zach would have stuck with her.
Furthermore, everyone has abandoned their post, and there's just absolute anarchy in the paper
I know.
factory.
Everyone's like, somebody kissing?
Ugh.
I have age questions with Zach because the cutoff is 32 years old, I think, to be in basic training. But just in general, I always felt like people who did this were younger.
Mhm.
And these people all seem like adults. And they're like in their late 20s, early 30s for the most part. And Zach seems like he's like 35.
And Gere was 33 when this movie came out.
I think they should have mentioned it at some point. Like,
Another-
you're basically right under the cutoff, Mayo.
Age nitpick is, although maybe not, although I would hope not, Grace Zabriskie was only like 15 years older than Winger.
Loja's only 18 years older than Gere. That's probably why they were partying together.
Yeah, that's right.
Rosanna Arquette as Lynette.
Oh,
Man, I love her.
Yeah.
I think
I
she's
love her.
pissed. She was pissed when this came out. She's like, damn it.
After Hours was right around the corner.
Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins or Byron Mayo?
I do wonder if this movie's better if Wayne Jenkins plays Sid. And he's like, "Goddamn, Mayo! I didn't know I was training with Jet Li. You roundhouse kicked that guy like he was taking your lunch money in Manila. You better not get Paula pregnant, or you're gonna be living in Washington a long fucking time, big boy."
That's good.
Tried to keep it concise. you know?
Was Jet Li active in the film business in 1982? I don't think
It
so.
could sub in Chuck Norris.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
sorry, my
all right,
bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait till you test drive Byron Mayo on a future podcast.
It's so good.
I'm gonna save it for like Schindler's List or something.
You back pocketed Loja. Like you just always had Loja inside you.
It's just you gotta just say it like this.
Tony.
No, there's plenty of room in this queen size bed. bring a friend.
I can't look at you because it's so disgusting because you are channeling Loja so beautifully.
Oh my God, my fly's open. I didn't even notice.
Him puking at the start is fucking disgusting.
And he just fucking is like, give me a towel and wipes off the puke. And then he's like, I'm all good.
He's like 3 feet from the toilet. Like he's not even close when he's puking.
It's eerily close to Loja.
Just one Oscar, who gets it?
I'm going Winger.
I think Gere. That's why that was sort of my take with the Gossett thing. It's like Gossett's great, but this is Gere's movie. He holds this movie.
So Winger got nominated. I forgot to mention this at the top. They got nominations for Best Actress, Original Screenplay, Film Editing, Best Original Score, and Best Original Song. Winger was going against Sissy Spacek and Missing, Jessica Lange and Francis, Julie Andrews and Victor Victoria, which was a big movie because she went topless and everybody lost their minds. No, honestly, they were like Mary Poppins took her shirt off.
Now you sound like Byron Mayo.
I'm just telling you.
Have you guys seen Victor Victoria? Mary Poppins gets a kid out. Let's go.
I'm just telling you, it was like one of the biggest stories of that year. It's like Mary Poppins got naked.
Yeah.
And then Meryl Streep won for Sophie's Choice. That was going to be a hard one.
Hard
to
to
beat.
take that from Meryl. Yeah.
Stuff. I'm with you on Winger. I think she's.
Yeah.
Could she have been Best Supporting Actor instead of or Actress instead of Actress? I guess would be my question.
No,
She's
she
not
has
in-
to be Best Actress. For Winger? Yeah.
You think supporting?
She's in 40% of the movie.
She's in a lot of this movie. I would argue.
I never know what the rules are because fucking Hopkins
you
won for 16 minutes.
You put yourself up for a certain category.
The movie's not called An Officer and a Gentleman and Paula the Pollock. You know?
We came up with so many great titles. Probably unanswerable questions. My first one was, did Zach and his dad have a foursome for his graduation present? We covered.
We certainly did.
What kind of athlete was Zach Mayo? Like 3 sports in high school?
Yeah.
And at Philippines High?
I feel like we missed out on sending him to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Here.
I love when people are just awesome. And also, was he that good of an athlete or was everybody else terrible?
That was one of the things is also like, it just seems like you can just sign up for officers training.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
That's confusing.
He's like, I'm joining the Navy. I want to fly jets. I'm going to like, so it seems like it's like any guy off the street can just sign up for this. But yeah, he is.
I feel like he was at least captain of the football team or something.
Seemed like a wide receiver.
All right, Sean, was Lynette really pregnant?
Yeah, this is the most important question in the movie. I say she thought she was, which I don't think is the conventional wisdom. But her reaction when she breaks up with him reveals that it doesn't matter because she is still a really callous person.
It starts with them in the hotel room, and he says, "Did you
Well,
get
it
your
starts with
period
them
yet?"
on the boat, and she's talking to Paula about like, would
Well,
you
yeah,
ever
she lays the
purposely get
seeds.
pregnant
Right.
to keep
Yeah.
one of these guys?
But he asks her, like, "Why haven't you gotten your period yet?" So that's established. So she definitely was late.
Yep.
And then I don't know after that.
I mean, she's like, it's not fair that these guys come here, use us for fun, and then leave.
Yeah, and there's like an arc of how it goes. And with 3 weeks left, they pull back.
Mhm.
And maybe you get the impression that Lynette's been like, this is like the third time she's had a pilot boyfriend for a couple months, and then they bounce.
Yeah.
But it's strange because she makes it sound like in the hotel room, like she's really late.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. But I love that scene. And I love when she's like, Gere drops the C word. And when she tries to get Winger to get her back. And when she's walking out, she's like, God help you. You know, and she's like, you would have done the same thing.
I forgot to mention this.
Or you're no different. You're no different.
When he said the C word in the movie, I'd never heard it before. I didn't know what it was.
Mm.
It's like one of those.
Hey, Mom.
Is that a bad one?
What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, it was like, hey, that word he said.
It's funny on the IMDb famous quotes, that scene is transcribed as "you little tramp," and you're like,
because this is a movie that was on basic like broadcast TV all the time. So like that sex scene is edited out. Like this was, I feel like this was on ABC, the ABC movie of the week, like 8 times when I was a kid. And the edited version was very well known.
Best double feature choice. Sounds like you guys are thinking Full Metal Jacket.
I was thinking Top Gun. And the funny thing is to look at this in conjunction with Top Gun kind of speaks to Quentin Tarantino's monologue about Top Gun being about
Sleep With Me.
Yeah, and Sleep With Me, because Top Gun ends in like the romance of that movie is Iceman and Maverick, and in this it's Paula.
I think you could do a Louis Gossett Jr. Iron Eagle double feature.
Sure.
Yeah. Get up in the air. Yeah. Be a good one.
Andy and Red's Awatney Award. What happened the next day? How many months did Paula and
they're going to Texas, right?
Yeah. You stick with her? I think he fucks it up.
I don't think that like a small military town in Texas is what Paula had in mind.
The only reason this movie really works for me is because I buy them.
Yeah.
So I think they stuck it out. I think they made it. I think they're together.
You think Zach just worked through all the dad stuff and he's a cool guy now?
Yeah. I don't know about that. I mean, you think he was like, so the thing with me is I need to have foursomes with my dad. Are you still in?
Does he introduce Paula to his dad?
Is it cool if my dad sleeps with us tonight? What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie? It's clearly the motorcycle.
Oh,
it's just
so after being mocked by you for always picking the car, I grabbed the Foley's Fire Eaters sweatshirt that they wear on the obstacle course.
Like that one.
That's a good one. Coach Finstock Award, best life lesson.
This is one I grabbed from when Sid and Zach are towards the end of the movie in the mess hall. Sit, adjust, pray, attack. When they sit down to their trays.
Nick Nurse is saying that to the Sixers tonight. I have love lifts you up where you belong.
Oh, that's great, Bill.
Is that something you believe?
No,
okay.
I just thought it was a good life lesson.
How about make a little room for dad? Scooch over.
You hit on something here.
Yeah,
I promise this is the only podcast hitting Byron Mayo today. Out of the 3 million podcasts people are making.
You don't think this is on?
Do
you don't think Daddy Gang gets this?
Get it? No.
I'm Alex Cooper, and this is Robert Loggia.
So you play Byron Mayo.
Is Loggia still around?
I don't think he is.
But if he was,
he was like 62 for
if he was, he would be on Caller Daddy.
He was. Yeah. He passed in 2015. All right.
Let me tell you something, Alex.
Yeah.
Who won the movie? I'm going to say Gere.
I'm going to go Winger.
I think it's Gere.
Craig, what'd you think?
I watched it with Liz, and we loved it. We really enjoyed it.
Oh.
It's so sweet and satisfying. And you mentioned like La La Land and The Notebook. Both those movies kind of end on a somber note. Maybe that's the difference. Is like this movie just ends on an awesome high note. And by the end of the movie, you care about like 8 people.
Yeah,
it's impressive. I mean, the female girl in the Navy with them, like you care about her. You care about Keith David. I mean, Lynette, you have feelings for. So they just like Lou Gossett, you care about. So I thought that was great.
Did you know that Sid was going to kill himself?
No.
You didn't see that one coming?
No. But I even thought that was like handled in a way that was still kind of like delicate and emotional. And I just kept waiting for the shoe to drop in this movie, and it never does. Gere, there's the one scene where Gere kind of blows up. He's drinking. I kind of thought maybe something violent was going to happen. It really doesn't. He never shows that again. I thought he was a little too nice for who he was. Thought he should have been
but it takes him a while to get there.
But he doesn't really do anything to show you he's that rough around the edges. I mean, he's just like...
Yeah, I think that I think that the scene with the townie and like just the idea that this guy would get his life together enough to go to officer training school and immediately start like a black market business is like kind of like who he was. Like he couldn't get out of his own way.
To me, it's like him at the bar saying like, "Hey man, I don't want to fight you." I was like, I feel like that character would have immediately blown up and punched him in the face.
Yeah.
So before we started recording, Chris looked me in the eyes, man to man, and he said, "Hey, I have to ask you a question. I don't want to talk about this on the podcast, but I'm going to bring it up here because I think it's appropriate." And the question was, why is Sid nude when he hanged himself?
Oh, that would have been a good
unanswerable
question.
Is it because he only had his uniform and you don't die in your uniform?
But he was wearing khakis and a blue shirt.
He had just proposed.
He was wearing his proposal outfit. Just wondering.
So what happened there? He took a shower and then he was like, you know what? I don't feel clean.
Are you going with a did Sid kill himself?
No. I was just, it's a very vivid image. And I was just like.
That would be an incredible twist if Foley murdered Sid and then framed him. Yeah, that would be great.
It's a good cue. I
was thinking it was like an auto asphyxiation.
I don't think that was it.
You don't think they were doing that in 82?
Well, I think that they were. I think Byron Mayo probably invented it. But he's going to get the belt a little tight.
Workshopping this new thing.
Why did he need to swallow the ring, the actor? Why couldn't he have just kept it in his mouth and swallowed water? He needed to
that is a
swallow
place where
the
you
ring.
need to do little movie magic there.
You couldn't just keep that in the mouth,
Yeah.
cut away. He had to swallow a real ring.
The other unanswerable question is David Keith or Keith David?
It's like who you got?
Who you got?
As a
It's Keith
category.
David. Sorry,
Keith
David.
David.
Keith
I love
David,
Keith David.
Yeah.
Also, I've never seen Debra Winger in a movie, and I'm all the way fucking in.
Oh, you got to watch Urban Cowboy.
Okay. She's actually even hotter in Urban Cowboy.
Yeah, it's on Max. It's on this movie's on Max, and so is Urban Cowboy. And Urban Cowboy is elite.
Do you think we would ever do Terms of Endearment?
Yeah,
It's a good movie.
we could do Sad Month.
Winger Month?
Sad month?
Sad Month.
That's good clickbait.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll workshop
From the
title.
executive producer of Wait, that made how much money?
Sad month.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. One more question. Why is it that now we are so sex positive, and but there's no sex in movies now?
Yeah.
But back then it was so much more risque, and yet there was sex all the time.
Ask Dr. Kinsey over here. Why is that?
Is it because actors were forced to do it back then by producers, and now they have more power?
I mean,
now?
that is what happened in this movie.
It's a big part of it. Yeah. I think that there is an acceptance that sex in our society is better, but that we don't have to depict it to titillate. That's the issue. I don't agree with that.
Shouldn't we be
personally.
normalizing it and showing it as not sensational, that it is a part of everyday life? Isn't that a part of like pro-sex positivity?
I think we should get more white guys in here to talk about this. What do you think?
This is the real white
Yeah.
guy.
I have
right?
the answer. I think sex scenes were
Which
more.
one of us can get? Yeah.
Sex scenes were more impactful in the 70s and 80s because there was way less access to
You couldn't
nudity.
get it anywhere?
Yeah.
That's true. That's definitely
there
a
was
factor.
Playboy magazine.
I think
was
that this
the
is
most important
actually,
thing.
to be completely candid, one of the few-ish sex scenes that actually is character-based.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like these
Necessary?
two people who have like found each
Yeah,
other.
that's the Ebert
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's totally right. It like you believe that them having that moment is critical to their relationship, and that the aftermath of it and like his attempt to reject her because he has a fear of abandonment,
And her being like, what the fuck?
and her
Yeah.
having that feeling, it like that solidifies that they should be together, and then we hope for the rest of the movie that they will get together and stay together. So
People were super horny in the 70s and 80s. I mean, there was a porn movie.
they are still horny.
Well, but they have better outlets for it now.
Yeah,
People used to go see porn movies in the theater.
Would you
with
say that
like 300
cranking is
people.
better now? Like, is that
Crank Daddy is
Yeah.
like in rare form.
Yeah.
But no, people would go to porn movies in the theater for like 5 years. That was the thing.
Yeah.
They would just go like, I'm going to go see Deep Throat tonight with 2 buddies. It was like what we were talking about with Toy Soldiers with the communal porn.
Yeah. Some people
Right.
would even go with their dads.